Hi guys, it's Buki again. Welcome to the virtual class. So today we're going to be making a makeup wipe, and it's going to be made from fabric. So to get started with this, you can make whatever shape you want. Circle, square, whatever shape, even triangle shape. You can make any shape that you want. And because I'm going to be making circle also today, I'm going to show you how to make circle. Every other shape is super easy to make, to do. So because we're going to make circle today, so I'm going to show you how to get started with that. So just get any circle objects. I'm using a tape. You can use a cup, you can use a bowl, whatever you want to use. So make sure, as long as it's circle, it's going to be fine. So this is the exact size that I want. So I'm just going to place it on a scrap paper. This is a scrap paper. So just place it at the back and just draw your circle. It's so easy. By using a circle object makes it actually super easy. So once you have your circle, I want this exact size. So I'm just gonna add the seam allowance all around it. So I need a tape for that. So I'm just gonna add 1/2 inch seam allowance all around the circle and join it together. So if I am using a bigger, say a bowl or cup, I don't need to add the 1/2 inch because it's going to be big enough. But because this is not big enough and this is the only circle object I can find, so I'm just going to add the seam allowance around it, and then we can cut the pattern. So basically I'm just adding 1/2 inch all around. So now I'm going to join this together to form like another circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you have a circle. Yeah. So this is what we have. Next, you just cut out your pattern. So you cut this out, and now you can place this on your fabric and use it to cut your circle. So whatever size you want depends on you. If you want a smaller size, you can use the inner circle. You don't need to have the same allowance. But if you want a bigger size, you can use this one. Just place this on your fabric and then cut your fabric. You can decide to pin it to your fabric. So let's assume this is my fabric, and I'm just gonna place this right on the fabric, put some pin, maybe 1 or 2, and then cut my circle. So because it's going to be a facial wipe, I'm going to be using one towel and a fabric. So this is the circle that I cut out already. So this is from a towel. You can use old towel for this, whatever kind of kitchen towel or whatever. Just use an old towel. If you have a stain on it or you just don't want to use it anymore, you can just cut it out and use it for your facial wipe. And this is a cotton fabric. So I'm gonna advise you guys to use a cotton fabric, not silk, not any other fabric, but a cotton fabric. And don't put an interfacing on this, because interfacing has glue, and when you try to wipe your face with that, you might get the glue on your face. Probably you might be allergic to that, I don't know. But then just use a nice cotton fabric for that. So for this square, all you need to do is just cut your desired measurement. For me, I made this 4 inches by 4 inches. So this is a square towel, just 4 inches by 4 inches, and then you're done with that. This is super easy, so we don't need a pattern for this. All you need is just the measurements, and then you just cut out. So what you're going to do now is, the next thing you're going to do is just place your towel. Towel doesn't have back side or front side, so just use any side of that, and then place the front side, the good side of your fabric, on top of the towel. So the inside of your fabric is going to be facing you, while the outside is going to be facing the towel. So you put that together and then you stitch all around it. So while you're stitching, you want to leave a little bit of space to turn the project right side out. It doesn't have to be so big, because this is not even big. so you don't need a really wide space. All you need is about 1 inch or 1¼ inch space to turn it around. So I'm leaving this place open, and then I'm gonna stitch all around it. So now I've got the sewing machine. I'm just gonna stitch. So because my fabric is a little bit bigger than the towel, you can see there are some spaces all around at the side. I'm just gonna transfer the mark on the towel and stitch on top of the towel, so I can stitch all the parts, all the sides in. When you finish, remember to make a back stitch before you cut the thread. So I'm going to take out my excess thread, and now I'm going to trim this side. So because I have a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the side, it probably is not so visible on that side. I have a 1/2 inch seam allowance on the side. I'm just going to trim it out so I can have a really thin edge. That way my project is going to be nice and flat at the edge. So just trim out your excess fabric, and when you're trimming, make sure you leave this side open. Don't trim this side that you left open to turn the project right side out, because it's going to be easier for you to stitch if you don't cut out the excess fabric. So it's going to be very easy for you to stitch it in. So now I'm going to turn this right side out. Just stick your hand in, just take one finger in and just turn it out, just poke it out, and make sure all the sides are out. And now you can stitch this open side where you left open. You can now just turn it inside and stitch. So I don't want to stitch just this side alone. I'm going to put a stop stitch all around it. So I'm stitching like a circle again, just all around it, so it's gonna look better that way. Done with that, I'm just gonna trim out the excess thread, and that's it. So you can put your solution on this side and wipe your face, wipe your makeup off, and this can also be like your face sponge when you're taking a shower and you want to wash your face. It's soft and it's really nice. So instead of using the cotton and all those one-time use facial wipes, you can just make this out of scrap fabric and your towel that you don't need anymore, and you can use this. So to make this square, I have the fabric and the towel already. I cut that already. Like I said, it's 4 inch by 4 inch. So put the towel on the table and put the right side of the fabric facing the towel like we did for the circle. So this one also has excess fabric on the side. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to stitch and leave a little bit of space open. So I'm leaving the space on one side. Just put a mark and leaving the space right there open, and I'm going to stitch all around it and stop my stitch here. Every time you get to the corner, just make sure the needle is down, take up the foot and turn. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the edges, just trim out the excess fabric that I have on the edges and the side also. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the edges of this one, the pointed edges. I'm just going to cut it up a little bit, just so it's it doesn't get so bulky at the edges. So make sure you're not cutting your stitch. My stitch is right there. I just made it small trimming on the edge. Make sure you're not cutting out your stitch, but be close to the stitch as much as possible. So just trim the 4 edges, and now we can turn it right side out. So like we did for the circle, just stick one finger in to the end and just turn it. Just with the help of this finger, just poke it out from the inside, and then it can be easier for you to turn it right side out. So with this, it has 4 corners. You have to make sure that all the 4 corners are out. Make sure if you need any blunt objects to just poke it out, that's gonna be fine. You can use your pencil or you can use a chopstick to poke it out. And yeah, this is what we have. We're gonna close this opening where we turn it right side out, and to do that, I'm just gonna put a top stitch all around the project. This side is still not completely out. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put a top stitch all around the project, and we're gonna be done with this also. So make sure that your top stitch is as close to the edge as possible. We're done with this. Also, just cut out any excess thread you might have, and that's it. So this is your square facial wipe. You can either use the circle, or you make the circle, or make the square, and both I think perfectly fine. So this is what we have for you today. We're gonna be here again next week Tuesday, for another sewing class. Until then, guys, stay safe. Bye, and thank you for watching.